Welcome to Point Black. Today, boy, we're going to call this The Conversation, where we engage with voices boldly shaping our city and our future. Tonight, our guest is Minister Donald Muhammad, a tireless advocate for St. Louis's black communities, a mentor to youth, and a leader at Muhammad March number 28. For over 4 decades, Minister Muhammad has championed justice, unity, and empowerment through faith, activism, and service. This conversation is a window into his journey, his vision for St. Louis, and his abiding dedication for uplifting others. Minister Muhammad, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing fine, Mr. Pruitt. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm so honored and happy to be here and to see your smiling face.
Well, listen, man, we're going to have a conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, we call it The Conversation because this is brother to brother, boy. Me and Donald, we go back.
We go back.
We cover some miles.
As the song says, a long, long way.
A long, long way. Listen, maybe too long away. Don, you mind your age? How old are you now?
I turned 81 2 weeks ago.
81 2 weeks ago. Congratulations,
Thank you very much. 81 years young.
31 years. Well, let's start with that personal journey, man. I know you embraced the Nation of Islam in 75, but let's start from the beginning, Don. Where were you born in?
Yeah, I was born in a little town in northern Mississippi called The Hill. The town was named Houston, Mississippi.
Houston, Mississippi.
Houston, about 125 miles south of Memphis.
Okay.
Yeah, and I got a chance to come to St. Louis because my mother had moved here, and I would come here in the summer and go back to Mississippi for the school year, But then eventually in 1960, I came here for good.
Okay, 1960.
Yeah.
So hold on. I got to ask you now. On the Hill in Mississippi, between the time you was born and before you got here in 1960, what was it like to be in Little Town, Mississippi?
Well, as I look back in retrospect, Mr. Pruitt, we were self-sufficient and didn't know it.
Got it.
In that little town. We had where everything centered around the church, and of course, the school was segregated. Mm-hmm. And I hate to use that word segregated. I say separate.
Got it.
Because I found out later on in life that 80% of black people who went to HBCUs that went on to get their masters and PhDs in the northern universities came out of the HBCU. So we got a real good education. Because the black teachers took their time and made sure we had it, but it was the church and the school that was the center institutions in that little town. We own our own restaurants. We own our own everything that we are centered around, even the juke joints.
The juke joints, I heard that. Listen, you got to have one.
Yeah, so it was great. But when I came to the urban center, I realized something that we didn't have in Mississippi, and that was envy and jealousy.
Okay.
Because if a person go off and achieve something and accomplish something, we all celebrated for that person. Just say they would go to Mississippi Valley State, become a teacher, they would come back to my hometown to teach. We all celebrated. There was a celebration taking place, So it was a different experience. And when I got to St. Louis, and, back in those days, they had what you call a track test.
Right.
Well, I had never taken a track test, so I didn't do too good. So they put me back 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And I never opened a book when I was in high school because I had taken all of that. Never opened a book. I didn't open a book till I got this basketball scholarship to Missouri Baptist. That's when I opened a textbook.
Oh, you kidding me?
Yes, sir. Never did because they had educated me, man, down in Mississippi.
Wow. You know what? That's interesting because basically you're saying that when you got here, our system was our way of educating children was behind from a preparation standpoint that you got in the early years in a small segregated education system, or separate, as you call it,
separate
educated system.
That's right. Well, I think back in those days, shortly after that, that was the case with the Thurgood Marshall and the Kansas City Board of
right.
Separate but
equal.
Right. So I think St. Louis was making that transition during that time. So they came up with the school board came up with this track system,
right?
And it was designed to really leave some students out. But they didn't know that I had all of that stuff. I just sit there and just look at it.
What you see?
I had all of that. So basically, but the journey in St. Louis has been very helpful and meaningful to me as well, because this was the place of my awakening.
We're gonna get in there, but you said something, boy. He's basketball scholarship, Missouri Baptist. I graduated from Missouri Baptist.
Yes,
also.
sir.
You got a basketball scholarship, huh?
Yeah, and to Central Missouri State too.
And Central Missouri State.
But what happened was, when I, back in those days, 64, 65, Missouri Baptist was St. Louis Baptist, and it was only a junior college,
right?
2 years.
Okay.
So what happened was, I saw the rendering of the universities out there on 64 now. I saw the rendering of the Missouri Baptist Hospital.
Gotcha.
And then I told one of my teachers one day, she asked me what I wanted to do. I was what I wanted to major in. I told her sociology. And she told me that, look, I wouldn't recommend that for you. Now, physical education is something that you can do. I didn't say nothing, because we were trained not to say stuff.
Gotcha.
But that gave me motivation. But so when I got the scholarship to Central Missouri State, Chuck Smith was the coach. He had just got the job at UMSL, so I went out there.
Okay.
But I was only taking 13 hours.
Gotcha.
And supposed to have been taking 15 in order to dodge the Vietnam draft.
Gotcha.
So I got drafted out of school.
Oh, you got drafted?
And went to Vietnam.
In the Army?
Yes, sir.
Army, huh?
That's right.
Well, we won't hold that against you. Army. I
didn't volunteer.
They are a branch of the service. But no. So did you go to Vietnam?
Yes, sir, brother.
Oh wow!
Excuse me.
I didn't know that.
Excuse me. Don't talk about the U.S. Army like that.
BJ, I'm sorry.
I'm a U.S. Army vet.
All right. Hoorah!
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Went to Vietnam. Got after 6 months, got medevaced out to Japan, to the hospital, and then I spent my last 11 months in Okinawa in the Armed Forces Police.
You was a police, boy, ladies and gentlemen, activists. This guy was a policeman. Now that, you know what? Now that Don, I thought I knew you. See, you've been holding back. Military police. Huh?
Well, it was the Armed Forces Police, because all four branches came together to create the Armed Forces Police for the whole island of Okinawa.
For the whole island of Okinawa.
Yeah.
So they got the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, and we've all heard the stories about Vietnam vets wasn't treated right when they got back. And,
that's true.
And black folks wasn't treated right, period.
That's right.
Whether it was Nam or Nam, it didn't make a difference. But you mind talking about your experience in Vietnam a little bit?
Absolutely. Well,
as a black, I'm talking about as a black soldier over there with the white soldiers. I mean, you hear a lot of stories, but
well, you take most of those infantry outfits was majority black.
Got it.
And it was very strange. I remember Christmas Day of 1967. We met up with another company, and it was at least 98% black. Most of those brothers were from the East Coast.
Got it.
And I didn't know at the time that we was in Cambodia. Oh. I found that out when I got back, because they got a certain people called the Montagnards. They live around those mountains and things like that over in Cambodia. Of course, the media said we wasn't in Cambodia. I found that out as well, But they offered me $10,000 to re-enlist, and I turned it down. I wanted to come back home. They said, well, it's rough out there, brother. I said, that's all right. I'll find my way, because I'm from Mississippi, man. You ain't going to stop me. If I got an idea, I'm going to complete it. I'm going to see it through. So that's what I did. I came back home, went to work, and got back into night school.
Got
And that's how I graduated. And then I went to graduate school at SIU Edwardsville in public policy.
You public policy. Wait a minute, police officer. Wait a minute, with the Vietnam. Police officer, Missouri Baptist, Central Missouri State basketball. Police officer.
But I didn't want to be a police officer out here.
I know. I'm teasing.
Yeah,
but you know what? So what? How do we get to Islam? How do we?
Well, when I was in the Army, I heard a lot of those brothers I was telling you about that was from the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
They was greeting each other with Assalamu alaikum. And I
Okay.
wanted to know what that was about.
Right.
So once I got back home, you know, the civil rights movement was at its height in 68, 69,
Exactly.
and things like that. And I used to listen to the radio program with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on KTZ, and also Minister Farrakhan, who had the program as well. And then a young man I knew I went to high school with used to come to our house on Goodfellow at that time and lead the Muhammad Speaks if nobody was there. And I started reading the Muhammad Speaks. Now, I was in graduate school then. And the only way I could find out about what was going on in Africa was through the Muhammad Speaks. Because at that time, you had what was taking place was sham independence, meaning they were playing the skin game. In other words, they were, you know, when the revolution got to a certain point where the Europeans may lose, then they would hold an election and prop a black man up in office. So that would appease the people. And another magazine that I was fond of was the Black Scholar. I don't know whether you remember that one or
I
not.
don't remember that.
Yeah, so that gave you all of the black historical aspects and things like that. As a matter of fact, it was an awakening process as well. So then I was reading the Muhammad Speaks, and one Friday I went down to the mosque on Grand, and I've been there ever since. It's been over right at 50 years now.
Yeah, I think you said it's 1975, man.
Well,
wow.
I really became a Muslim in 73.
Oh,
I
got
joined
you,
the nation
got
in
you.
75.
Wow, got you.
Mm-hmm.
Got you. And you've been there ever since?
Been there ever since.
And mosque number 28, how long you been?
Well, it was mosque number 28, of course. Then, at that particular time, then, you know, there was, I hate to call it a split, but Waf Deen Muhammad, new leadership, which I love my imam. But at the same time, in 77, Minister Farrakhan stood up to rebuild the nation. And I came with him.
Got it.
In St. Louis, you know. So
Right.
it was myself, Akbar, and others
Right.
who stood up right here in the city of St. Louis to rebuild the nation. And we have come to this point now, where we are right now, under the leadership of Minister Farrakhan. As a matter of fact, the nation been rebuilt already.
Yeah, the
know.
nation's doing good, but mosque 28, what that you got some young folks in there. I've seen a bunch of young folks in there preaching too.
Yeah, well, you know, right now, Brother Pruitt, at my age, I preach every once in a while or when I need to.
Gotcha.
I'm pushing other people up now. I'm putting them up, creating new leadership, you see.
Hold that thought. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna take a quick break. We be back with more on Point Blank. I got Minister Donald Muhammad, mosque number 28, in the house, the military police officer. And we're back on Point Blank where we having the conversation. And I got my brother in the house, Minister Donald Muhammad, mosque number 28. Man. So you were telling me. So let's go back just one little bit of a minute. Cause he used the word preach. He said he don't preach that much. I don't know if folks understand that in the mosque y'all do preach, don't you?
Yes, sir. We preach.
They think preaching only happen in the church and the Muslims in the mosque. They don't call it
in the Nation
preaching.
of Islam, we use all the scriptures. We don't make no distinction in none of them. We believe in Moses and the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Old Testament called the Pentateuch. We believe in the other Israelite prophets of the Old Testament. We believe in the advent of Jesus, the Christ. Mm-hmm. We believe in the Acts of the Apostle, the Epistles of Paul, and the great book of Revelation. which is really being fulfilled right in front of our eyes right now. And then we believe in Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the Holy Quran. Most people don't know, as Muslims, we believe in Jesus, because the Holy Quran calls him Jesus, son of Mary, the Messiah.
Got it.
You see, so we don't make no distinction in none of them, because can you imagine God raising up a prophet, revealing scripture, and cause division among God's family? That don't happen. We do that.
We the people.
The people do that.
Yeah, these human beings.
Yeah.
So the young guys, so you said you very rarely preach, so you got some young guys preaching in the mosque, huh?
I got 5, and one of them is a sister.
One of them's a sister.
Yes, sir. Well, I got 5. I mean, they are great. I mean, as a matter of fact, Brother Ishmael and his assistant, they crazy about him.
Good.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I should be delegating now at my age.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I realize that my time is coming close to being up. Now, I ain't talking about death now, all right?
Right.
I'm talking about being properly relieved. I think God gonna keep me here for a while.
Well, anyways, for 81 years so far, the average black man ain't supposed to live that long. So I'm not saying you're on borrowed time. I'm just glad you on time.
Yeah. Just in the 90th chapter of the book of Psalm, Prophet David, he gives a mathematical formula for the days that we should be living, the years we should be living on the earth.
Right.
Of course, he said 3 scores and 10.
Right.
1 score is 20.
Right.
3 scores is 60, and 10 is 70.
Right.
But he said, but with strength, 80. So I'm so honored and happy, and thank God that I've been here 4 scores and 1.
Strength.
With strength, 4 scores.
With strength. I heard that.
Now, Minister Farrakhan been here 5 scores.
How old is the
He's
minister
92.
now? He's 92?
Yes,
wow, I did not realize that.
Yes, sir.
I did not realize that. So do you think that any of your early experiences, whether in Mississippi, whether in Vietnam or Okinawa, all that, you think any of that has played a big part in shaping how you deal with the city and the young folks today, your opinions? I mean, are you still being shaped by that, or you?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You always learn. I never have put myself in a position where I think I know everything.
Gotcha.
And that's why Minister Farrakhan don't want us to call ourselves even ministers. He says student ministers.
Got it.
Because you are still learning. You never stop learning. From the womb to the tomb, you're always learning.
And I got that in my notes, student minister, and I left that out because I'm like, well, no, he ain't a student no more. But
yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
Because the word of God can never be exhausted.
Got it.
Prophecy has a time fuse on it. When it's time for it to be fulfilled, then we have to really understand what time it is right now and where we are in the fulfillment of prophecy. But what happens, Mr. Pruitt, is that we are being taught, if you don't understand, there's a scripture in the Holy Quran said that Satan or Shaitan will come at us in the straight path. We are taught that the straight path is religion. And the scripture said we have been deceived. He has deceived the whole world. Now, have I been deceived? Have we been deceived? Absolutely. Because they have made us think that prophecy is history and history is prophecy. You see what I'm saying? So if we stay back in the past, 2,000 years ago with Jesus, 4,000 BC with Moses, and over 1,400 years ago with Prophet Muhammad, we won't see the fulfillment of prophecy. So we'll be in the dark. But if you look at the life of Jesus, peace be upon him, that means that what he represented is really playing out today. You remember they was trying to take his life before he was born because he was the representative of a new Messiah that was going to bring in a new kingdom.
Got it.
So so that means they crucified him. And we sing this song every day. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? We always there when they crucified Paul Robeson, when they crucified Dr. King, when they crucified Malcolm X. It's the same thing. We just don't call it crucifixion because they represented something that was outside of the ramifications of this world.
Well, now, when you say that, there's some young folks will say that Tupac was assassinated. They would say Biggie Smalls was assassanated. So I'm just trying. I want you to help the young, because the young folks listen to this too. I want you to help them understand the difference between what you just said and what I just said.
Well, you know, when it came to this gangster rap, and I don't have the dates. I had to go back and find it. Mm-hmm. But the music mongols had a meeting in the Caribbean, because you remember, a rap was positive at first.
Yeah,
totally positive. As a matter of fact, that positive rap brought a lot of young people into the nation in that day, in the Nation of Islam. So now they made a conscious effort to switch it around to make it gangster rap.
Got it.
And they fell. You know, they fell for it because they was dealing with mega money.
Right.
You understand what I mean?
Right.
But Tupac was raised by his mother. He was a very conscious brother.
Right. Yes.
He was very conscious. Biggie was a good brother. His mother was from the Caribbean. All of them. But look what happened. Out of that gangster mentality, and we know that we wasn't gangsters. We know who the real gangsters are. We want to be gangsters.
I understand. I understand.
So that's how that got twisted all up. No, it wasn't the same thing. We were talking about prophecy versus a rap now. That's a big difference. Prophecy is the word of God that's being prophesied from a prophet of yesterday, but only 25% of the prophet's words are applicable for that hour, but 75% is to take place at another time.
So when we talk, when the young folks talk like that, and I think they're not equating it with prophecy. But I think they're saying that they believe that because of Tupac's messaging,
he had a positive message.
That it had more to do with his demise. That it was, they think the conspiracy, and it was a lot of other things more to do with demise. And I be honest, I disagree.
That mentality was not created by black folk. It was carried out by black folk.
Got you.
You see, that mentality was not embedded in him from the beginning. It was a change by the music mongols who actually created that gangster rap and all of that, and they started disrespecting our women and an N-word this and an N-word that. You're gonna knock this brother off and all that kind of stuff. And you see that right now. It's prevalent in the community now. When the brothers go out into the community, you will find they sitting on their front porch, man. With an AK-47. Who you gonna shoot with an AK-47? Ain't nobody around you, your enemy. Right. And they have to be taught out of that. And that's what we try to do at Muhammad Mosque number 28.
It reminds me, when you say that, we talk about the gangster rap right before then, it reminds me of Dr. Dre, the Chronic album.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a song on there that he talks about, how they lost a friend, and it talks about them pouring liquor over his grave, and talking about he don't know what was worse, seeing him go. And I mean, if you listen to that song in the Chronic album, I mean, there's some real messaging in there. And so I guess what I'm saying today, you're saying we'll mainly void that messaging in rap, you think? And some of it, maybe, I think.
Well, you know, from the very beginning, Brother Pearl, I wasn't fond of rap.
I got you.
You know, I mean, in other words, I like crooning, man. You know, I go back to the old school, the 60s and 70s music.
Right.
But when the rap came out, I thought, you know, and I grew up in Mississippi too, gospel and blues and all of that, man. So I like music and jazz.
Right.
I like that kind of music. But I learned something about rap as I began to go back and listen to all the positive lyrics that they was doing, you know. But it's always painful to lose a friend. It's always painful to lose a loved one.
Right.
And you know, I fought in Vietnam. I saw a lot of people get killed, man.
I got you.
And we came back home. We had PTSD. They didn't do nothing about that. About that. It was later on before they gave us our benefits.
So, you know, let me switch up just a little bit. I want to talk about the you know, the work you're doing with some of these young folks as a mentor, because you've been through a lot. You've got education, even postgraduate education and stuff. As you are dealing with the young folks in the mosque, or you have an opportunity to push them to seek more education, or or you more helping them just get their lives together? What would you?
Well,
how would you frame it?
We have an unwritten rule. You either got to be working or in school.
Gotcha.
You know, so we don't want nobody laying around doing nothing. I mean, the very nature of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is doing something for yourself, you know. And of course, everybody can't be a businessman, but those that are they're doing quite well in business, and that's a developmental process. It's good to see a young man that you bring in, and then they don't have they don't even have a high school education. They get a GED, then they go on and get a good job. Then they get married to take care of their family, they have children, and they become an example for the community. Well, that makes me feel good. That makes me think that my work was not in vain. You see, and I got plenty of them like that in the
So that leads me to this juvenile work you was doing. That leads me. You weren't going to escape that.
Well, you know,
were
in
a juvenile officer,
in
right?
1969, when I got out of service, June, I messed around all the way, you know, on unemployment and that kind of stuff. I didn't have no family.
Right.
I got married in 71, but I didn't have a family, and but December of 1969, I got hired by the post office. It was wintertime.
You was making big money then.
No, but I didn't go.
Oh.
I got another job at the Juvenile Detention Center.
Okay.
You know, that was after my first job, which was at Swift and Company over on Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
St. Louis Independent Packing Company. Right. I worked in the office over there in the payroll department, and I stayed gone all that 6 months, and then I got the job at the post office, but I turned it down. I went to the Juvenile Detention Center and worked as a child care worker. And then, you know, while I was in graduate school, I said, man, let me get out of here and let me go over to the court side. So that's how I became a juvenile officer, working out of the South Side office on Jefferson, South Jefferson. Then I got transferred to child neglect and abuse, and that's what I couldn't take. I got out of that and went into business.
Well, we're going to go back first to the juvenile officer because right now today, you know, a couple of weeks ago, the young man did a carjacking. They let him out, the juvenile. They turned around, did another one, and the police spokesman made a statement that you know these kids are 20 years from now, and they getting their 20 or 20 years from now, they probably going to kill someone and stuff like that.
It's a juvenile or criminal. That's what the name of that program is.
Yeah, and so they would, you know, so now the Missouri legislature talking about, you know, filing legislation to fix the juvenile system. And you know, so what do you compare to what you were dealing with back then and what you get to see now? What is the most dramatic change I think you've seen in the kids and the type of stuff they're doing?
Well, you know, Mr. Pruitt, back in that era, you know, I could see where they started working on the family.
Got it.
The family, you know, trying to disband and dismantle the family. And they have been very successful in doing that. Now, what we teach at Muhammad Mosque is to build up the family. We encourage marriage. You know, we encourage all of these things because family becomes the very rudimentary foundation of a society.
Gotcha.
Okay, so now what has happened is that, of course, we know that the public school system, I might get hit about this, but you know they are producing functional illiterates now. A lot of these young people don't even don't even get in high school. They opt out for the street.
Right.
That make a better representation of themselves than what is being done. Now, of course, you have to change the mentality that they have, and once you change the mentality. And it has to be from a spiritual base as well, because they have to realize that there's a mathematical equation in understanding where God is. You know, oftentimes we preach that God is too high and the devil is too low. But when they find out that God is within them, also the devil too now, and if they understand that developmental process internally, that God is within them, then you have the power to will things into existence, just like God. So that because David the psalmist said, we are all God's children of the Most High God. So we are little gods, but at the same time, we got power, and this is why we still praying in and sitting in, man, and marching. I mean, that ain't God's way. When the enemy see us still marching, guess what they're saying? They still dead.
Yeah, I mean,
mentally and spiritually.
I tell people all the time that when they see us marching and protest, the powers to be said, as long as they ain't tearing nothing up, let them alone. When they get tired, they're going home.
That's right.
And we can keep doing what we're doing.
That's right. Exactly. That's the truth.
And we hear this.
That's right.
We hear this.
And going back in those days, Brother Pruitt, you had the Ville area.
Yeah.
was a good neighborhood.
Right.
Even down off of Jefferson.
Yeah. Jeff
Vanderloo.
Yeah.
Also the first one down there.
Oh, North St. Louis.
No. It was before then.
Oh, yeah.
When they tore up that neighborhood, that's how black folk moved out west in the 59s and 60s and went to Soda.
Mill Creek.
Mill Creek, that's
Mill
right.
Creek, yeah.
So I mean, our neighborhoods have been demolished.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It's been totally demolished, and the family structure is not there now.
Yeah, but now, we're going to take a quick break. I want you to hold that thought on family structure. We're going to be right back, ladies and gentlemen. We have Minister Donald Muhammad, Monster number 28, in the house, and this is The Conversation on Point Black. And we are back. Welcome back to Point Black. We are having the conversation. I got Minister Donald Muhammad, March number 28, in the house. You were talking about the family structure, and mainly all this we talking about, ladies and gentlemen, the issue with juveniles now. So I'm just going to take you back a minute. You're a juvenile officer and dealing with child abuse stuff. You up in the system. You looking at what's going on.
Yes.
And this is the 60s. Now we in 2025. You are dealing with youth every day in Tomas, and you converting and saving lives. Because, ladies and gentlemen, let's make no mistake about it. The young people that is in his mosque, he is turning their life around. He's saving their lives, and they are productive. They're what we call good productive citizens. I don't know what the hell that is, but I know that's what they use to label us when they think we're doing right in society.
Let me share this with you, Brother Pruitt. When I was a juvenile officer, probation.
Yeah.
I had a caseload.
Got it.
Okay, I was I was down on South Jefferson, and I had a couple of cases out of the South Side projects.
Mm-hmm.
So when my supervisor found out, I was actually going in the projects.
Okay.
Going to meet the parents and people like that. All the white folks that had cases in the project, because they never went, they wrote up false reports. They never went in them projects. They gave me all of those projects, all those cases rather. Mm-hmm. And I was coming back. My recidivist rate was 0.
Oh wow.
This is the truth.
Wow. No, that's recidivism, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm not saying anybody. I'm not claiming any ignorance on anybody, but just the define recidivism for them. I want to make sure everybody get what you're saying when you say 0.
They stayed out of juvenile court.
They didn't come back.
They didn't come back.
Once you got them as a caseworker.
I had a personal relationship with them and their parents.
Got it.
And when they found out that I had a 0 recidivist rate, they transferred me to child abuse and neglect on Vanderventer. This is God's truth, man.
Wow.
And I worked that case, and that's the first time I saw incest. First time I saw what you call it?
Sexual abuse, child abuse.
Sexual abuse. Yeah. That's the first time I realized that. The first time I saw you walk in a house, Brother Pruitt, and you walk in a house and rats jumping off the table. I saw that with my own eyes.
Got it.
Man, I was already suffering from PTSD.
Well,
so I put my head together and I wheeled myself into business. That's when I left juvenile court, and I bought Plaza Cleaners, dry cleaners, and Plaza Ice Cream down on Vanderbilt near St. Louis Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah, that was me. And I began to, you do something for self. I bought Allen cabs. You know, I was renting them out,
Okay.
and I had a tremendous business down there. But I realized something else. You know, this journey is something else, Brother Pruitt. I realized that when industry moves out, business go down.
Yes.
Skull and Steel shut down. Remember that?
Right, on Manchester.
Yes,
over there.
sir. These people lived in the neighborhood.
Right.
Also, Husman Refrigerator moved out.
Yeah.
Carter Carburetor moved out.
Yeah.
Also, General Motors moved to Winsville.
GM left.
So, in other words, my business just went down half.
Yeah.
This is the truth. And I tried to go to North County and I tried to move out. They was charging me triple rent to rent out one of those places. So I had to, you know.
But you hit on something, ladies and gentlemen. We call it economic-based theory. Economic-based theory says that communities, in order to prosper, must have income.
Absolutely.
Income which is primarily derived from the wages that the people who live in the community earn.
That's right.
When that does not happen, communities suffer catastrophic adverse outcomes. High crime, low property values, low self-esteem, no health outcomes. The whole thing, it collapses. And you saying you witnessed it firsthand as a businessman.
Firsthand. You know, now when you married and got children and you ain't bringing the money you should be bringing in, you just created a hellhole for yourself.
I got
You see? So now, oh man.
But what can but I'm going back to this formula you working with the youth and turning around. What can we do or should be doing to deal with the youth that you can't take them all? What's your formula? What should we be doing?
There are great organizations out here that deal with youth, Brother Pruitt,
Mm-hmm.
but based on the fact they are funded via 501c3, so they cannot put a spiritual base under the child.
Got it.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
In other words, you can go back as far as time immemorial in Africa. Our people always believed in the oneness of God. It just so happened a 501c3, you can't talk about God. If it's absence of God and the spirit that is genetically within the child already, then that means, you know, it's just like blowing in the wind.
Yeah, I get you right. I think everybody needs a spiritual base.
That's right. That's right.
You know, I won't debate that at all.
Well, yeah, that's right. That's not politically correct.
Listen. It is correct. Now, whether it's political or not, they can have that. But it is correct. But you know, it's you're saying, are our juveniles today? You saying that they're spiritless to some degree, but actually, I honestly believe that they believe in God. They believe there is a God.
Yeah.
They want to be closer to Him, but they believe that based on their circumstances, God is not favoring them, so they turn their back on it. I might be wrong.
I don't think they can. I don't believe they analyze it like that.
You don't think they analyze? I'm just saying, but
I think it's a phenomenon.
Yeah.
That is taking place. Yeah. All right, and you got to understand when you was coming up, didn't your parents take you to church?
Oh yes.
Did you had to go to church on Sunday?
Yeah.
I mean, same thing with me.
Yeah, but
the point about it is we knew. I'm gonna give you an example. When my children became an age of college, you know what they said? They said we knew we had to go to college.
Okay.
You know, because that was instilled in them.
Well, boy, you should hear BJ talk about what he did to his kids. So BJ, hey, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Muhammad, you must have been in BJ's house.
I must have been. No, we had the same mentality.
BJ said they gonna work, go to college. What you said, BJ? Oh, let's get it in.
You know, well, let me just say this. Let me just simplify this. Here's the deal. I did what I needed to do because I believe this. This is my belief. That if I leave a child on this earth, because if the Bible is right, I'm going to die before my kids, right?
Right.
So if I leave a child on this earth and he cannot provide for himself, he or she,
because he's got girls too.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Then I fail. Why should I be trying to go to heaven?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Oh, interesting.
You know what I'm saying?
No, he came up with the magic word.
Interesting thought.
You know what I'm saying?
That's the elephant in the room.
I heard that.
That's the elephant in the room now going to heaven.
So I'm not going to discuss what I did. just know that they all working, got their own money.
That's
and
right.
they ain't calling me.
That's what I'm talking about.
BJ Kids, if you're listening, give him a call. He's got some money to give away. He's been saving it all this time. He's been saving.
What's the last? You go ahead.
But no. I was gonna say this is that no. I've talked to some of these young folks, and I'm telling you, Brother Muhammad, when you hear a kid says, Pruitt, or they call me OG, and I said I didn't know I was OG.
Original gangster.
I said, now is that in reverence or is that based on age? and sometimes they say both, but most times they say age. But they say this, Brother Muhammad. He said, man, listen, I've been out here struggling all my life. I seen my mama struggle. I think my dad got locked up and killed my brothers and this and that. And I'm just doing what I need to do to get mine. And, I know I'm taking some chances, but I ain't going to live to be no 25 or 30. And these are kids 18 and 19. Yeah. Some is little 17 and 16. They're like, I'm not going to, I'm not going to be around that long. So I might as well do what I need to do now. And when they tell me that, man, it tears my heart apart.
Yeah. Well, Brother Pruitt, how should I put this? When our neighborhoods were intact, we had viable communities.
Yeah.
Now, what the majority did, they opted out for the greater society. Mm-hmm. And therefore,
middle income left.
That's right. But therefore, we didn't understand how to engineer a community. You see? Now, black people are spiritual people. Mm-hmm. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us to study the white man. For he makes no excuses for his failures. If he get knocked down, he get right back up. Now, let's go on a sociological perspective here. When it comes to religion as relates to our counterparts, okay? And St. Louis is a Catholic town. It's named after a Catholic, St. Louis, okay? Out of Catholicism, which I have no right to criticize. I'm not criticizing it at all. Mm-hmm. We need to look at it from a scientific perspective. Out of religion comes what? Family.
Yeah.
This is why the Catholics don't believe in what? Contraceptions. Mm-hmm. They believe in having a lot of children. Mm-hmm. Out of religion comes education. Mm-hmm. You see? They own schools.
Right.
The public school system has been already designed. The die is already set to miseducate us, our children. You see? Mm-hmm. So now, if we learn that formula, out of Catholicism, out of religion comes businesses. You remember the old Mercantile Bank?
Yeah.
That was the Catholic bank that did all of their business entities. So my point is that we have to learn that formula from a religious perspective. You see, in other words, religion is more than just you coming and being good, living a righteous life,
right?
And then what's left is you die and go to heaven, or die and go somewhere else, because you leave this world here. But everybody else heaven that I'm talking about is right here on earth.
I heard that, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it straight from Minister Donald Muhammad, Ox number 28 here in St. Louis. We're going to wrap this portion up of the conversation, and we'll be back with more on Point Black.